So in this video, we're going to show you how you can make fat 808s. So in this video, we're going to show you how you can make some crazy 808s. So this is just going to be sort of like the simple way on how I make my 808s hit. And yeah, it's not going to be too complicated. It's going to be easy to follow. I'm just going to show you how you can make them 808s hit hard and just generally not suck. If you're new here, follow me on Instagram, subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. We're almost there, literally so close. And yeah, let's get into it. Well, right, so now we are in Logic. Right, so I've made this like little checklist for 808s. So the things we're going to go over is number one is keeping it in key, which is probably the most important thing. You don't want it out of key. The second is distortion. The third is EQ. And the fourth is the pattern. So we're going to start with this guitar melody, which sounds like this. So we've got sort of this like sad boy guitar melody. So now what we're going to do is just sort of build the drums on it, and then I'm going to show you the 808. So throughout this video, we're going to be using my free drum kit, which I promote in pretty much every video. All these sounds that you hear from this video are going to be in there, including all the 808s. So go get it. So that is enough to sort of get an 808 in. So I went over this in sort of my last video where I went through pretty much how I mix all my beats. I recommend going to watch that after this one. So to do all the 808s, I use Alchemy. So I've tried using a lot of things in the past, and this is by far the best thing to use, and it's free because it's a stock thing. So when you first get into Alchemy, it'll look like this, and it'll have a load of like different sounds in there. But we don't want it for any of these, we want it for the 808s. So what we're going to do is go to this advanced bit. We're just going to click this drop down bit and go to initialize setting. So as you can see, that's taken everything out of this little sampler bit. So now you'll just have this crappy saw wave, which is literally the worst sound ever. But what this will allow you to do is then throw your 808s into there. So like I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to go to my free drum kit, and we're just going to throw one of these 808s in. So we're going to drag it over until it says sampler, and now we have an 808. What? So in here, it's got a lot of different settings. What I usually do is turn this filter off most of the time. Although if you haven't got any good distortion plugins, this drive can also add a bit of distortion. But we're just going to turn that off. And that is pretty much how simple it is to get an 808 in. The next thing we can look at is this hold and release thing. So you can make long 808s short and short 808s long, and it's all with this hold and release. You also have this attack knob, which I don't know why you would even ever touch this, but adds like a little delay. So yes, that's pretty much the basics of using a sampler with 808s. So what we're going to do is just pick one of these 808s for this track. So we're just going to go through some of these. And now we're going to get into the first rule of 808s. So the first thing on my list was key. So that is what we're going to start with. So it's very important with 808s that you actually stay in key. It's just like playing sort of like another melody on top. So if you are bad with music theory, or you're using a sample and you just don't know the key of it, and for example on this one it just doesn't have the key in the title, what you can do is just bounce it out. So we're just going to bounce this to say my desktop, video, bounce, sick beat. And then we're going to open this thing called Key Finder, which looks like this, which is also free. And we're just going to pull that sample in. And then there we go, there is the key. So now we know we are working in the scale of A. So now we can stick to that. So in Logic, I've been using this cheat for quite a while. If you just go to this tab here, and you'll see this thing called Transposer, and just click that on. Now what this will do is keep you in a specific key. So for example, if we go to G, all these are going to be in G. And so we went to C Southeast Asian. Now we are in C Southeast Asian. So obviously for this we're going to go to A, and now pretty much everything we play on this keyboard will be in key. That one the pattern that we're going to go for, but it's still in key. So yeah, so we're just going to lay an 8/8 pattern down and go from there. But we're probably going to just change this a little bit. So I'm just going to copy that over instead. So add another one there. So now it sort of progresses into these like double 8/8 notes here. So now we've got that 8/8, it is important to layer it with a kick. I personally use pretty much the same kick in every single beat just because this one is...
That's exactly what you'll be doing.
Kinda perfect. So in my drum kit, it's this one here called Go-To because it is my go-to. So altogether we have this. So as you can hear, that kick still is really punchy. So these two sounds are pretty much like my go-to sounds. So now we got that key done. So next thing we're going to go over is the distortion. So this is what the 8/8 sounds like without no distortion. So as you can hear, it's not really that loud, and this would never come through on, say, phone speakers, which most people listen to stuff on phone speakers. So all I use on mine is literally the stock overdrive plugin in Logic, and these are my settings. So depending on how distorted the 808 is, you can sort of move these turn and drive knobs either up or down, but I tend to just keep it on there. And I've just routed this to a bus and got the sends to minus 15.7. Having it on a bus is kind of important because you can sort of blend the distortion in. So if we just threw it onto the channel rack, it would sound like this, which is not great. So instead of putting it on the bus, now it sounds like this. So yeah, so these are my settings I use on everything, and yeah. I'm also just going to throw these little rises in there just because. So that is a massive, massive difference. So that is key and distortion. Now we're just going to switch the beat up because I'm bored of this one. So that one is just screaming for a hard 808. So now we're going to try and find a hard 808. So next thing in this would be the pattern. So the pattern is pretty important. So your patterns are going to vary quite a lot depending on the BPM of the track. An 808 pattern for like a 200 BPM track is not going to be the same as say like a 110. So it's just all sort of feeling it out and seeing where it goes. Like these harder beats, you can sort of get away with just using like 1 or 2 notes, like just straight across. So the next thing we can add is sort of some like 808 stutters. So if we just like that. So we're just going to match that kick with the 808. So that is pretty simple, but it sounds kind of good. Last thing we can add is some like 808 slides. Going on legato, and I turn this glide onto say like 30. So what you can do is just go to the end of like a bar and just put one there like that. Yeah, that is pretty much how to do some 808s.